UNCP implements a new policy that requires sophomores to live on campus.
And students are starting to enjoy more in-person events as both mask mandates and social distancing come to an end.
Those stories plus, North Carolinians react to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'm Jay Locklear.
And I'm Jayla Coley. You're watching Carolina News Today.
As the state moves forward with introducing voluntary masking, UNC System President Peter Hans is asking the state's public university to lift mask mandates. Effective Monday, UNCP students, faculty, staff, and visitors will no longer be required to wear masks. Following federal and state guidelines, masks will only be required in campus healthcare settings. In an email over the weekend, Chancellor Cummings suggested that individuals who feel more comfortable wearing a face mask continue to do so. Unvaccinated individuals or individuals who are at a higher risk should consider wearing a face mask in all situations when in close proximity to others.
The FBI is investigating more bomb threats against historically black colleges and universities in Virginia and North Carolina. While the schools haven't found anything suspicious, students and staff are still reeling. Ellen Ice of WTKR reports.
We're here at Norfolk State University where students were on lockdown for several hours today due to a bomb threat. And at Elizabeth City State University, another HBCU, they also received a threat today. And at Hampton University on Wednesday, students had to lock down for yet another threat. So it begs the question, how are students holding up? The FBI is investigating the threats. They say there were 57 institutions targeted from January 4th to February 16th. That's not including the 3 that just happened this week in our area. Bomb dogs were seen this morning at Norfolk State University. Students were removed from campus while the threat was investigated. News 3 talked to students about the effect the threats have on their mental health.
It's kind of depressing because I don't hear about this from any other school. I don't hear this from PWIs or anything. I'm not sure why it's happening at HBCUs because it's spreading fast.
It definitely takes a toll on us mentally. Even me, I struggle with many mental health aspects, so kind of adding this, it's like icing on the cake, just something else to worry about.
The FBI is investigating these cases as racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism and hate crimes. Ellen Ice, News 3.
UNCP has decided to implement a 2-year residency requirement for students on campus. This means that students who are admitted as first-year students will be required to live in campus housing for their first and second academic years. This also means that current freshmen who become sophomores in August will be required to abide by this new policy. CNT reporter Gasimi Victoria tells us the reasoning behind this new protocol.
With a variety of housing options available here at UNCP, including Cypress Hall and Village Apartments, it's no wonder incoming freshmen have always been encouraged to reside on campus. Beginning fall 2022, the residency requirement will extend to include sophomores as well.
Well, if you live on campus, there's lots of opportunities for mentorship, for tutoring, becoming involved in organizations and clubs that lead to leadership experiences. All these things add to your experience as a student.
The transition from high school to college is a unique yet daunting experience for most. The extended requirement will allow students the opportunity to be involved and alleviate some of that stress that comes with being a freshman or sophomore.
Getting engaged with activities and programs, whether it be athletic events or things happening in GPAC, things happening in the university center, being close to their fellow students, right in the same hallway, building community, meeting other people, making friends. Being close to faculty and staff, having lots of services around them at their fingertips.
Although the freshman and sophomore residency requirement will benefit many students by providing them with engagement opportunities, commuter student Denasia Brewer disagrees.
I feel like all students who's able to travel shouldn't be forced to stay on campus because some children don't like to get involved in the class.
While the requirement might spark some debate between students, its main objective is clear.
To make you better prepared to graduate and career ready when you move on from UNC Pembroke.
UNCP students don't seem to embrace the concept of sophomores being required to live on campus. Here's what they have to say.
What are your thoughts and opinions on UNCP requiring freshmen and sophomores to live on campus?
I think that it's a limitation on their freedom, and I think people should obviously be able to make the decision whether or not it's financially feasible to live on campus or off campus, whether it's with family or elsewhere.
Right. I don't understand why sophomores need to stay on campus. Freshmen I can get, it's like a safety precaution, but sophomore year, you've been here for a while, you've been here for a year, you know like what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, so it just doesn't make sense to have them stay here when they don't need to, if they don't want to.
I get that freshmen have to stay on campus, but I feel once you turn a sophomore, you should have the option not to stay on campus.
As a freshman, you need to, get into the school, what's new environment, get to know it. But sophomore year is when people want to branch out, define themselves, their own person. You're out of mommy and daddy's house, so therefore, you want your own comfort, everything just to yourself. So I feel like it should be an option instead of a requirement for sophomores to choose and pick where they want to live.
Students at UNCP are learning there are many uses of unmanned aviation systems, commonly known as drones. The students are in a course that prepares them for certification as drone pilots. CNT Associate Producer Josh Baker has the story.
Now, thanks to a new class, UNCP students are taking to the skies, all without having to leave campus grounds. It's a beautiful day at the UNCP apiary just by the soccer stadium, and these students are starting their pre-flight checks.
Your battery's still good? 86 there?
Not for planes, but for drones. In this class, geography and mass communication students team up to learn the basics of drone flight. The class is out here to fly often. Professor Jesse Rouse spoke about the course's focus on getting the students flying as fast as possible.
It's like any other class. The more hands-on time you have, the better it's going to be. The more you're going to get out of the classes, especially if it's something that does have hands-on opportunities.
Students seem to love handling the drones and are optimistic about using drones in their jobs after graduation.
You're not just learning about drones, you're learning about flight and airspace and weather conditions and things to look out for and how to read, flight maps and stuff like that. It's all a part of this drones class. There's so much intricacy to flying drones and being safe with drones that, this is the perfect class for it.
For Carolina News Today, I'm Josh Baker.
The Office of Student Inclusion and Diversity and the Black History Committee worked together to plan events for Black History Month. The Black Culture Fest was one of those events. It allows students to learn more about Black food, music, and poetry, along with other aspects of Black history and heritage. I had the chance to attend, and I was excited about what the Culture Fest had to offer. As Black History Month comes to a close, organizations on campus have decided to gather here at the University Center Annex to celebrate Black culture. Let's take a look inside. The Office of Student Inclusion and Diversity, in partnership with the Black Student Union, hosted a Culture Fest on Thursday to celebrate Black music, Black love, Black art, and most importantly, Black-owned businesses. Students, faculty, and staff were invited to participate in this event by coming to the UC Annex to view what Black-owned businesses of UNCP have to offer. Shelby Perry, Marketing and Communication Specialist for the Office of Student Inclusion and Diversity, says that it's important for Black students to be recognized on campus.
There is a large Black population here at UNCP, and sometimes I feel like we can be forgotten about, and so I just want to make sure that, our presence is known and that people know that we're here, we're important, and we matter.
Students were asked to perform, and Divine Nine organizations were asked to stroll in unity. Many business owners had products on hand for people to purchase. Students were also seen gathering information from those business owners to contact them in the future. Maria Lazaro, Black Student Union President, says she was really excited about the student turnout.
This is really successful. I'm surprised that we got so much success. I had to run and get more plates. If that's not successful to me,
The Black Student Union looks forward to working with other organizations such as the Office of Student Inclusion and Diversity to amplify the voices of Black students at UNCP. I'm Jayla Coley reporting for Carolina News Today.
Pembroke Activities Council hosted a 2-hour open mic night Tuesday for students and staff to enjoy in an unlikely place where even a famous comedian and actor from HBO's Insecure joined in on the fun. CNT reporter Sonny Delmar tells us more.
Mary Livermore Library is switching it up with its open mic night, guest starring Chinadu Unaka. Instead of stressing for exams and midterms, students were able to come out and enjoy all that open mic night had to offer. With all sorts of great talents, Students were given the opportunity to come up and showcase their gifts in different ways. From comedians like Chinadu Unaka to sororities like the AKAs, and even modeling. Assistant Director Bailey Miller says the event was a great success.
I think the turnout was amazing. I think it went really well. I think our main goal here was to just bring students out and remind them that we do have activities on campus and we do have things that are free and accessible to them.
Campus Engagement says that with the event being the first event since COVID-19, there will be a lot more in the near future.
No justice, no peace.
Students are fired up about the opportunity.
Getting participation for events where you have to actually speak, especially like in front of a big crowd, can be very hard for people. So we just had this as like a starter, basically, just to get people comfortable, because I know they plan on doing it next year.
Open Mic Night surely was an exciting way to shake up the library and allow students for a great, fun way to decompress from some of the stress they may have had from class. Carolina News Today, I'm Sonny Delmar.
UNCP faculty shed some light on historical conflicts between Russia and Ukraine.
While the invasion has ripple effects in the global economy.
Plus, the Supreme Court takes on a decades-old American Indian adoption law.
Those stories you don't want to miss, stay tuned.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here.
Hundreds of North Carolinians rallied in downtown Raleigh on Saturday morning in support of Ukraine. Ukrainians stood alongside supporters, desperate to save their homeland and the ones they love who are still there. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine on Thursday, unleashing airstrikes on cities and military bases, and sending in troops and tanks from 3 sides. Ukraine's government pleaded for help as civilians piled into trains and cars to flee. Demonstrators at the rally called on countries like the United States to provide more weapons and support. They raised money and gathered medical supplies, with plans to send those donations to Ukraine if things worsen. A group from Raleigh also hopes to make their way to Ukraine in the coming days to support those living under fire.
UNCP history professor Anthony Johnson teaches modern Russian history. He says the two countries have a complicated relationship going back hundreds of years, and the demographics of Ukraine bear this out.
The eastern portions of Ukraine to the east of the Dnieper River, that's a mix, that's a hodgepodge of a whole bunch of different groups of people. But if you look at the electoral maps more recently in Ukrainian history, you'll see how those areas tend to favor more pro-Russian presidential candidates. And the western portions of Ukraine tend to favor more pro-Western presidential candidates. And there's this clear division. You've got a lot of ethnic Russians in the eastern portions of Ukraine.
Johnson says there's certainly a sizable position of other generations who never get over the breakup of the Soviet Union, including ex-KGB officer President Vladimir Putin.
He calls it the biggest tragedy of the 20th century. That expresses a sentiment that a lot of Russians have. I speak with friends in Russia, particularly an older generation who was alive and who remember the Soviet era very well, and typically quite fondly. Like, you bring up the name Mikhail Gorbachev, and who we look at as being a great man, broke up the Soviet Union. You mentioned Gorbachev to some of these older generation Soviet people, and they refuse to say his name, or if they do say his name, it's, you know, Mikhail Gorbachev messed up this country. And so you see a lot of support amongst people who look back to the Soviet era fondly for somebody like a Vladimir Putin, because the mentality is he has restored Russian greatness.
Political science professor Dr. Kevin Freeman says Russia lost its version of NATO, known as the Warsaw Pact, with the breakup of the Soviet Union. Russian leaders feel threatened by the cooperation of countries outside their control.
The Russians have always been big on having buffer states, if you will, between them and countries that are potentially ideological opponents to them. And over the years, as many countries that were formerly Soviet allies, countries that were formerly in the Warsaw Pact, have joined the European Union and have joined, some of them have joined even NATO, as a matter of fact, Russia has felt threatened by that to some extent. And one of the justifications that Putin gives with Ukraine is that they aren't a NATO state, and we need that space, we need that buffer between us and the West.
NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, whose member nations pledged to defend each other militarily. Yesterday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a membership application to the European Union. He asked them to, quote, urgently admit Ukraine using a new procedure. He did not go into detail about what that procedure might look like.
Despite planned peace talks, many expect the bloodshed in Ukraine will continue. That conflict far away might be hitting closer to home than you realize. Amy Kiley reports on how the war could be affecting your life as the global economy takes a hit.
In Ukraine, the impact of the war is painfully clear. In the U.S., the effects are more subtle. Oil is already up over $100 a barrel, and experts expect the conflict will keep prices high.
Ordinary Americans will be paying a little bit higher at the pump. But frankly, I think that is a sacrifice that we need to pay, because we'll pay far more later if we don't successfully stand up to Putin on this.
As the stock market opens Monday, investors are bracing after a roller coaster last week. Meanwhile, boycotts of Russian-branded alcohol are underway at some stores and bars.
Kind of like how you bounce somebody from a bar that, you know, just isn't getting along with everybody else. So we just decided to dump the Russian vodka for now, and because they weren't playing well with others at the bar.
Other organizations are finding their own ways to distance themselves from Russian President Vladimir Putin and his country.
He and his government are being treated like the pariahs that they are.
But the Ukraine war is affecting more than just U.S. finances and affiliations. It's igniting anger among protesters here and rekindling Cold War-era fear.
Top officials in leading NATO countries have allowed themselves to make aggressive comments about our country. Therefore, I hereby order the Minister of Defense and the Chief of the General Staff to place the Russian Army Deterrence Force on combat alert.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear a major Native American child welfare case. The court will consider whether the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 violates the Constitution. The law requires state adoption agencies to place Native American children with relatives or families of the same tribe when possible. It was passed to stop a crisis in the mid-70s when a large number of American Indian children were separated from their tribes through adoption or foster care placement. Supporters of the law says it's essential to protect the stability and security of Native American tribes. Critics say Congress exceeded its authority in passing the law and that some provisions violate equal protection principles.
A couple celebrating the milestone anniversary at a seafood restaurant on the Jersey Shore left with something extra special to remember the event, and is worth enough cash to keep celebrations going for some time. Alicia Reed of KYW in Philadelphia explains.
The Spresslers are back at the Lobster House, checking in with their waiter, Alberto.
It's like a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Last Sunday, Michael ordered his usual appetizer, a dozen clams on half shell.
I was down to the 12th one, and when I picked it up with the fork, it looked kind of heavy, but I didn't think nothing of it. And then when I started to eat it, I'm I noticed something was in my mouth. I actually thought one of my teeth broke.
It was actually a pearl.
He's eaten dozens and dozens of clams, and we've never found anything like that. So it was pretty exciting.
Not only did something spectacular and rare happen on their impromptu trip, the couple was also celebrating something special.
It was actually our anniversary of 34 years of coming here for the very first time. So that even makes it more
we first came here
special.
President's Day weekend in '87.
The popular restaurant is celebrating its centennial year. Not a bad gift for the Spresslers to walk away with.
I have worked here for around 10 years now, and I've never heard of somebody finding one in one of our oysters or clamshells.
A whopping 8.8 millimeters. It could go for thousands of dollars, but money is no factor in this equation.
I would like to have it set into a nice piece of jewelry, maybe with a mermaid or something nautical, as a beautiful remembrance of that day, and what we have is so special.
Their story has inspired others.
I've never eaten raw clams or oysters, but since somebody found something, I might have to give it a shot.
Coming up in CNT Sports, we look back at a historical regular season for Braves men's basketball.
And Braves wrestling sends multiple athletes to the podium at NCAA Regional and now is on to the Nationals.
Deshaun Donald is up next.
Welcome back, Brave Nation. I'm Deshaun Donald for CNT Sports. The Braves wrestling team hosted the NCAA Super Regional Tournament at home over the weekend. 8 Braves placed and picked up trophies led by All-American Nick Daggett and newcomer Zach Schaefer, who came in first in their respective weight classes. The Braves amassed 104 points but finished 26 points behind the Newberry Wolves, who got their second straight title in the Region 2. Daggett will head to Nationals for the 4th year in a row. For 6 years in a row, the Braves are sending multiple wrestlers to Nationals. After the 12-hour event on Saturday, Coach O.T. Johnson said the team's output was exceptional.
Definitely got to be proud of the guys, their efforts in every single match we wrestled. We got 8 guys to the placing rounds, so 8 guys on the podium. That's very impressive. I'm not sure if any other team in this tournament had that many guys place this weekend, so very proud of the guys about accomplishing that feat. So definitely something we want to hang our head on. And obviously, you got to be proud of these guys that are continuing their season. These guys have 2 more weeks to get to live out their dreams of being national champions. So that's very big.
The 6 national qualifiers will represent the Black and Gold March 11th and 12th in St. Louis, Missouri at the NCAA Division II Championships. The Braves softball team hosted a doubleheader against Adelphi on Sunday. The women only allowed 6 hits and fanned 8 batters to sweep the Panthers. It's their best home start, winning 7 of 8 games since the 2010 season. A couple of home runs on the night and multiple RBIs from multiple batters cemented the victory for the Braves. 5-0 in the first game, 7-1 in Game 2. Coach Brittany Bennett said her players took a pep talk to heart.
You might not like it, but I think this is where we're going to win. And then I think in the 4th inning, after we scored the run and then they got the run back and it was 1-1, I just told them that it was going to kind of be a dogfight. We just needed to be the bigger dogs at the end. That is a huge response by our team today, and that's overall just buying in and deciding they're going to get it done, and I'm proud of them.
Braves baseball snapped a 2-game away losing streak in their weekend series against Erskine. In Friday's match, the Black and Gold had 14 hits with 16 scores. 13 of those came in the last 3 innings. Gage Hammonds had a team high of 4 RBIs. Ethan Ott and Kristen Jane also had 3 RBIs. In the first game of Saturday's doubleheader, the men fell short due to a late walk-off home run, which led Erskine to a 10-9 victory in a split in the weekend series. The Braves responded in the second game, coming back from a 11-0 deficit, finishing with a 15-11 final score. The men's basketball team put together an amazing season, and they're looking to keep their energy all the way to the conference championship. CNT sports producer Tyshawn Carter gives us the recap.
The men's basketball team finished the season with a huge performance on senior night. The number 9 team in the country put together a historic season led by 4 seniors. They finished the season number 1 in the regular season conference rankings and becoming the regular season conference champions. The Braves finished the season 25-2 and looking forward to winning the national championship. We caught up with Coach Richards to talk about it after the game.
I think it shows that the things that we do are work and they help us win games and what we try to emphasize and what our identity is. But if you're going to continue to win, whether it's conference tournament, whether it's NCAA tournament, you've got to do what you've done, but at a higher level because, I mean, it's win or go home. So I think our players, our vets that have been there before can vouch for that and be able to lead those other guys to make them understand that, you know, what we do works, but you've got to do it as well as you've done it all year to continue to have success in the postseason.
Women's basketball started their conference tournament last night at home. The women took the largest lead to 8 with 7 minutes left, but the Emmanuel Lions rallied back to go into the half with a 2-point lead. The Lions came out of the half hot, pushing their lead to 5, but the Braves rallied back to drain a 3-pointer with 19 seconds left on the clock. The Lions went down for a layup with only 1 second left to upset the Braves, who got blocked on their last shot. Asim Purnell nearly matched her career high with a game-best 25 points. She was 5 for 9 from beyond the arc in her 38 minutes of action. That's it for their season, which they finished 17-7 in Conference Carolinas. The golf team is finishing up in the Low Tide Invitational today in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, where they're currently 7th place out of 13 teams. Men's basketball goes straight to Conference Carolina semifinal Saturday in Spartanburg, with the championships up for grabs on Sunday. I'm Deshaun Donald, and let's take it back to the studios.
Thanks, Deshaun. That's all the time we got for today. I'm Jay Locklear.
And I'm Jayla Coley. See you next week.